My wife Wendy and I are very close to celebrating two rather noteworthy events in our life together. One of them is a wedding anniversary, the other is a birthday. And therefore, some might think or suggest that it's the perfect time, like to really kick up our heels, to let loose and to go a little bit wild, like at the big bash, at the big shindig. Perhaps you'd want to be there. Well, actually, we've already sent out invitations and you should have received yours by now. After all, anyone who's anybody is going to be at this great event. You don't believe me, do you? That's because you know me. Anybody who knows me is not going to believe what I've just said. There isn't actually going to be some big bash somewhere where the roof will be raised by partygoers in some kind of state of frenzied barbarism, indulging without restraint in all kinds of guilty pleasures. Like, it's not going to happen. There isn't going to be some swanky affair where we pull out all the stops and where it's possibly reported by people afterwards, did you see Al and Wendy? They dressed up as Elvis and Madonna and danced up a storm. They danced the night away. Well, it's not going to happen. Sorry about that. The Al and Wendy show will not be coming to a theater anywhere near you ever. For I've absolutely no desire to party hard. Bless you if you like it. I can't do it. It's not in me, thankfully, to party hard. Can't do it. I'm not restlessly looking for that kind of action. In fact, I'm repulsed by it. Sorry if I offend you, it repulses me. It's not my idea of a celebration. I'm simply not looking for what is often called a good time. Like, if you're looking for a good time, don't call me. I'm simply not interested in good times and wish to be as far away as possible from those who are. I've ever been like my lifelong friend Mark, whose mother used to say, and I can hear her now saying it, she used to say it a lot. Mark would look forward in high school to the party on Friday night. He would look forward hopefully about what it might be like and would always come home disappointed and disillusioned. Yeah, that's ever been my experience as well, as looking forward to the party, attending the party, and then coming home. Oh dear. With one exception, I do remember going to a party. It was actually a wedding. And upon arrival, it was quite astonishing. There sat a cellist simply playing like contemplative music. It really was glorious, like no razzmatazz, just somebody playing this beautiful music. It set a tone for the evening, an evening that had great dignity and it was full of joy. I concur with the discriminating spirit of Thomas Merton, who issued the call to do everything you can to avoid the noise and the business of men. Keep as far away as you can from the places where they gather to cheat and insult one another, to exploit one another, to laugh at one another, or to mock one another with false gestures of friendship. Be glad if you can keep beyond the reach of their radios and do not bother with their songs. Well, bless Thomas Merton. Merton with the laughing eyes, who had absolutely no interest in the boisterousness of crowd gatherings. Plato, similarly in the Republic, took on the partygoers of his day, who he said look on their music as if it were a mere amusement and think no harm can come from it. Which is to say that they justified their tomfoolery by calling what they did mere entertainment. We're just having a good time. Their understanding was that it's quite all right to seek amusement, to entertain themselves without regard for whether it's worth the cost, the effort, the time, the energy, and whether it's morally and spiritually uplifting. As they say, we're having a good time. My experience is to observe that a good many folk do not even question whether the upcoming music, show, or event is going to have some kind of soul-elevating effect. Instead, what I hear repeated is the statement, don't be so critical about it. You need to be more accepting and tolerant. They just want to have a good time. It's just entertainment. Well, that's what folks say who I think are determining to make a habit, a way of life, to practicing stupefying and distorting themselves instead of transfiguring themselves into inspired, dignified, and admirable human beings. A case in point, my wife and I thought of going to a film recently on a weekend trip to Seattle. It's a 2-hour drive away for us. We go there when we can. As the time drew near for the film to begin, we had become so occupied in our reading, and I was doing a little bit of writing, that we just let the time pass. And neither of us even looked at each other anxiously about the time for the film coming and then going, which reflects a long-term understanding that we've had between us that when either of us is in a contemplative zone, in a contemplative space, that's to be protected at all costs. It's an understanding that the whole point of a holiday, the whole point of leisure is contemplation and not superficial gaiety. So in that contemplative zone or space, we are more than content to simply let the world pass us by. Josef Pieper, the philosopher, describes the contemplative spirit as the instance of beholding, Beholding, that is, what he calls essential things or the ultimate things in the spirit of the New Testament, which implores us to hone in on whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable. If anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things, like contemplate such things. Philippians chapter 4, verse 8. Now, in so doing, in living like this, in contemplating, we're able to find, in Josef Pieper's words, the ultimate fulfillment, the most perfect expression of being alive, the deepest satisfaction, and the fullest achievement of human existence. That's all. That's what comes from that way of being. Now, examples are manifold of the means by which such a sense of fulfillment and satisfaction can be found. So among the many possibilities, Pieper mentions, first of all, or recommends religious meditation, which he defines as immersion of the self into the divine mysteries. A second option he calls philosophical reflection. A third possibility is to engage in creative artistry. A fourth way is to experience the spark of poetry while listening to a poem. And then fifth, to behold a sculpture and to perceive the artist's intention. Like, this isn't passive. This is the contemplative spirit. And the list could go on and on. That's not an exhaustive list. The key element is what Pieper calls an attitude of receptive openness and attentive silence. The key element is an attitude of receptive openness and attentive silence, which, by the way, he says is the exact opposite of that attitude marked by concentrated exertion. So in light of these reflections on the value of contemplation, it will be understood why it is that Wendy and I did not care at all that we'd missed the film in downtown Seattle. We didn't want to settle for mere entertainment or mere amusement once the spirit of contemplation had taken hold. Josef Pieper asks us to look out at our society's preference for entertainment and for amusement in place of contemplation, and he says, take a look for a moment in the realm of music, and says this, or he asks this question: what facts do we observe? Well, he says we observe how much the most trivial and light music, what he calls the happy sound, has become the most common and pervasive phenomenon, like the happy sound. By its sheer banality, he says, this music expresses quite accurately that chief self-deception that on the inner existential level all is fine. There is nothing to worry about. Everything is in good order, really. In other words, he's calling this music, this happy sound, a lie that we subject ourselves to, and it blocks awareness. Furthermore, says Josef Pieper, we observe how much attention is demanded by and willingly given to the rhythmic beat of a certain crude and orgiastic music. We are constantly, he says, being bombarded by this level of musical noise. A music for slaves is what Aristotle called it. Well, the mass of people are contenting themselves with various forms of what Rilke called skin-deep delight, skin-deep delights. So in light of all of this, Pieper issues a challenge to his readers not to be so automatically satisfied. Like if you're too easily satisfied, like what's wrong with you? Don't be so automatically satisfied. Instead, be willing to listen attentively to what he calls essential music. And in this regard, he specifically mentions the music of Johann Sebastian Bach. The effect of heeding Pieper's call to contemplate, to behold essential things, ultimate things, is to lead us to what he calls a new and rekindled clarity, an authenticity, and a vigor of our inward existence. So what you get from contemplation is to behold from beholding essential things, ultimate things, to lead us to a new and rekindled clarity, authenticity, and vigor of our inward existence. Wow. If we are continually cultivating, as he says, that attitude of receptive openness and attentive silence, it will be found that we will experience dissatisfaction with entertaining but hollow achievement. We'll reject, in other words, mere entertainment, merely amusing ourselves, and will choose instead the higher pursuit of contemplation. Now, to reinforce Pieper's call to reject amusement and to encourage contemplation, I'd like to conclude with something that Thomas Merton said. I think this is so powerful. Said Merton, "You will never find interior solitude unless you make some conscious effort to deliver yourself from the desires and the care and the attachments of an existence in time and in the world. You will never find interior solitude unless you make some conscious effort to deliver yourself from the desires and the care and the attachments of an existence in time and in the world."